Hey, Mara Ifawuyi here at Lagoon Park in Christiansted, St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. It's bright and early in the morning. It's about 8 a.m. and I wanted to show you a little bit of how island life goes here in the Virgin Islands. So, one of the things that I love about this park here is that there is a botanical garden kind of area that a woman planted out years ago. So basically, there's all kinds of fruit trees, native trees, and different things that were planted here purposely so that we could, enjoy the fruits and see them growing and just really kind of tune in to our natural native plants, basically. And so it's one of the things that it's one of my favorite places here in Christiansted. Like if I'm not at the beach or somewhere like that, even though this is the beach, but if I'm not lounging on the beach, I'll come here and just sit, have a meditation in the mornings before I go to work. It's a really sweet place to bring your family. There's a playground here. There's a workout space that the AARP put in that folks could come. And usually there's yoga classes out here in the morning and a place to, or not a place, but some classes, like classes for older women to come and work out. And there'll be a lot of them out here dancing and vibing with some soca music. So it's just a really sweet place for those of you who are considering potentially coming out here for a while to live, checking out the Virgin Islands. It is a very special place to me. Me and my children have been living here on and off for about 8 years. Very on and off. I mean, a good probably half of that we've stayed steadily, on this island, and then just been on and off. But for 8 years, we've been knowing this place and making a home and a base for ourselves here. As many of you know, my children and I do quite a bit of traveling. We don't travel often because when we travel, we usually go and post up places. But over the last few years, we've lived here in the Virgin Islands. We've lived on Puerto Rico. We have lived in Brazil. Our last trip was Brazil to Costa Rica. With just some longer kind of staycations in places like Jamaica, and of course back and forth to the U.S. too. So that's just the last few years, but maybe the last 4 years. But so yeah, but this is our home base. We are happy to call this a home base. One of the things that I like to tell people if they're thinking about moving out here to the Virgin Islands is that it's important that you kind of, know what your aim is. This is a place that's very inflated cost-wise because it is in the Caribbean. It is an American territory, and obviously with as much stuff as we have to import and stuff like that, it can bring your costs way up. So living here, I'd say, was equivalent of like living in a city in America. So maybe somewhere like Atlanta or living in South Florida somewhere or something like that. So expense wise, especially when we're talking about food, you paying out some money. Here's a little garden area. So a lot of these are fruit trees. They're not really bearing, but we have the tropical plums out here. We've got different types of sapotes that grow out here, hibiscus, and I mean, there's a lot. We got soursop out here. Right now a lot of stuff isn't bearing, but of course all the palm, and I mean, it's just a really beautiful spot to just come and just be in a meditation. Enjoy watching the elders of this community like to come out here and walk in the morning, take care of themselves. St. Croix is a place where a lot of people like to, deal with their fitness and their health, play tennis, walk every day, do yoga. It's a kind of a fit place, and it's nice to see brown folk, taking their health and their wellness seriously, and you really do have that here. I love it. Not to mention, yes, there's fast food. There's also a lot of people who deal with, liking real cuisine, real food. So it's not like a fast food culture, really. Even though, I mean, I guess you do have that element here. But yeah, overall, it's a really sweet place. For those who are considering any kind of move, especially with their children, I'm a great resource for that. Me and my kids have went and set up in different countries over their lifetimes and just posted up and just got ourselves involved in the local community and learned what we could and picked up language skills in places and have really just gotten to have like a pretty nice global exposure. We've done Africa, we've done Europe, Central America, South America, the Caribbean. The only place we haven't really spent any time is in Asia as of right now. The closest we got was living in Hawaii when my daughter was very small. We did live on 2 Hawaiian islands. So, yeah, I love it out here. There's a little cat, like a little cat community out here, and the people come and feed them. And then there's also let me go back over here. There's also, of course, a whole lot of roosters running free. This is the land of roosters and wild horses. We got a lot of roosters, a lot of wild horses out here. And over here is a salt pond. Let's see if I can show you the salt pond. It kind of gets a little stinky sometimes. But yeah, it doesn't look like, looks like it's pretty overgrown right here. But yeah, salt pond. And what else? Just so much beauty, natural, quiet beauty here in the morning. Yeah, so, one of the things I think people need to do when they're considering making a move with their children, and particularly globally, is really, really take a moment to just assess not only, what their financial situation is and looks like, but, how they can have passive income, how they can, make sure they have something that's coming in regularly, like it's something they're working for, a job or a business that they're running virtually, but also really considering, investing in what their future is going to look like. Because you got to think, if you're living overseas, certain things like paying into Social Security and certain things that people look at as kind of securing their future, you won't necessarily be doing unless you have an American-based job that lets you be virtual. So you have to be considering all of these things. And when you go abroad, we lose some of that security, like that security blanket that we think we have when we're in the States. A lot of us don't have, aren't focused on that. A lot of us who are free thinkers and are traveling and doing stuff like that, we may not have even been involved in all of those, having all the insurances and Social Security and all the things. But it is something to consider, your future. What's your plan? Are you going to be buying property overseas? If you're going to be buying property overseas so that you'll always own something of your own, that is a way to kind of look into securing yourself for the future. There is a lot to think about, especially as you're getting older and your children are getting older. You need to be considering, what education will look like for them in terms of, okay, are we doing school? Are we doing virtual school? We're going to do private school in the country that we go to. What are the options? Here in the Virgin Islands, it's a U.S. territory, so there are public schools, but they're nothing to write home about. They're very poor. All of them, they're all very poor. So come on in. So, it's not somewhere that you would be like coming if you really value education and you can't afford private. I do not suggest coming out here. For me, I have like a different approach to education. It tends to be very kind of varied. Sometimes my kids are in school, sometimes they're not. My daughter's grown now, so she is working and considering if she wants to do college or not. But overall, my youngest, he's in the public school system at the so-called best school in the district, and it's still not good. So, we just have to be realistic about these kind of things when we're looking to move offshore or abroad or whatever. I just call this more offshore because it's still American territory, even though it's a very different culture in a certain way, and then there's similarities in a lot of ways. So, it's definitely still the Caribbean, and I'm grateful. It's nice to be where it's brown folk, as a predominant, and they're just out vibing and, seeing their elders taking their dips in the morning and all that. It's just a really quiet and sweet life. My children and I, we really love Brazil a lot, so at some point we'll be back and forth between here and there even more. We spent about 16 months there in 2021 to 2022. Then we went over to Costa Rica for a few months just to check it out, which was okay. But we love Brazil and looking to go back in that direction. If you have any travel needs or anything that you need in terms of any questions about getting into a travel lifestyle with your children, hit me up. imaraifawui@gmail.com. I'm available. I have a global nomad relocation consultations that I do as well. And stay tuned because we're still in the planning for our Bahia trip. We do want to take a group out for 2024 to the Bahia area, northern Brazil, where it's brown folk, mostly, with all the indigenous Afro culture there. And that is just amazing. Salvador, Itacaré, which is the city we lived in last. I've also lived in Salvador in my life. Just really amazing. So if you're interested in anything like that, got that coming up as well. I just wanted to jump on here quickly and say a few words. Hope y'all are having a blessed day. Peace.